I'm Ryan.
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
But that's not going to happen. Instead, we'll travel vicariously by inviting a guest to share their unique travel stories with us.
Today, we are talking to me.
You?
As I plan my trip to Spain in a couple weeks.
And when you say a couple of weeks, you mean literally like 2 weeks away, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's very exciting.
Really soon. Maybe closer to 3. I'm going to tell myself it's 3 because I do not have a lot of plans right now, which is very unlike me. Normally I have like everything good to go, but I'm like visiting people for parts of it, so I need to like firm up some details that involve communication with other people and trying to figure all that out. So it's not just like me making choices all the way across the board. So
this is a different sort of a trip for you in that regard. Is that accurate?
Well, I mean, I've done that a lot before. Like, there are a lot of times that I've traveled and stayed with people. And so I do generally plan a lot less when I do that because I figure, like, well, they live there, so they'll also have suggestions and just know things so I don't have to research quite as much either. And so I mean, in general, I might communicate with them with, like, what types of things I'm interested in doing, and then people oftentimes love to give suggestions, or they'll have, like, an inside scoop on visiting different places,
right,
which is fun. But part of there is somewhat of, like, a mystery with this trip still that I need to figure out.
Ooh.
So we'll see if we can solve it. I'm going to give you a series of clues, and then you'll have to tell me who did it.
Ooh, okay.
I bought a murder mystery kit, and I'm going to be all 8 characters. So this is going to be great.
Then I think you did it then.
Yeah.
I win.
Yeah, actually, wait. You're right. Okay. Yeah, so because I'm going to several cities, and some of them, the people I know in Madrid, like, coordinated me to visit some different camps that are, like, nearby some of these cities.
And when you say camp,
like summer camp, yeah. Like,
not like a tent camping.
Yeah, I work at a summer camp, so this is like camps in Spain. And I mean, it's hard to know what to expect because they were like, oh, this is not how you think of camp. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm very excited. But I don't know yet. Like, I don't know if that means that I'm like visiting these people and staying with them, or visiting these people for like an afternoon and then doing my own thing. And either is fine, but obviously that looks different, right, as far as like what I should be preparing for.
Right.
So I need to firm that up. And then I sent like dates of what I thought I would do different cities. And the guy that I'm like coordinating this with, he was like, yeah, that sounds great. That'll work. And so I just need to confirm that, like, you know, so yeah.
Cool. So if I'm understanding correctly, we're going to do some planning right now.
Yeah, we are.
Is that right? Excellent. So let's start with just where in Spain are you going? And of the places you're going, where have you been before? Because I know you've been to Spain before.
Yeah, those are good questions. Yeah, so I'm flying in and out of Madrid, which is the center of the country. And I'm going to do a loop. So I'm going, after Madrid, I'm going to head east to Valencia. And then northeast, I believe, along the coast to Barcelona.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go west and a little north to San Sebastian.
Okay.
And then southwest to a camp called Cheryl. Leon, I guess, would be the closest large city near there.
Okay.
And then back to Madrid, and I'll fly out. And so I'm going to do trains to get around.
Okay.
Which is so fun. I love train travel.
And you've done that. You've done trains in Spain before?
Yes. I've done some trains in Spain and some flying in Spain. One of the trains I did when I was in Italy, I ended up really not liking because because of one reason. Everything else was great. I have very sensitive ears as far as like pressure goes. So like plane travel, that's the only downside for me is I usually end up taking like Dayquil or something like that because it opens up your system a little bit, including your ears. And so that makes that easier. And but one of the trains, I don't remember if it was between Rome and Florence or Florence and Venice. It was one of those. There were a ton of tunnels. And the train was so fast that every time we went through the tunnels, my ears hurt. And so I ended up experiencing like a lot of pain on that train ride. And so it was funny because I was with my sister and she was just so relaxed the whole time. And there were times we were just going through like countrysides and I was relaxed and all of a sudden I was like, ow, 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 ow. And so I'm hoping that won't be the case with these train rides. But I mean, we'll find out. So, yeah, I have been to Madrid, but I haven't really spent any time in Madrid. Like I went,
like you've flown in and out of there before, but not really.
Yeah, and I've been in the city like a tiny bit. Because my family, we were in Europe in 2000 and ended up in Madrid, and but it was just like for one evening before our flight the next morning, and then my sister and I were in Madrid on our trip 3 years ago, and we had just enough time before a train to Toledo to go to this like churros and chocolate place.
Ooh.
And it was like the OG one, so that was very fun to find this like very old one. And that's all you get. Like that's what you order is just how many orders of churros and chocolate do you want.
Oh, that's like all they do.
That's all they do. And they have this really big machine that like squirts out the dough of the churro. So it must have like a shape that the dough like goes through to become, that like rigid.
Yeah.
And then it like coils it and then a big thing that fries it. And so you get this like big like spirally like long churro.
Wow.
That like comes out of this big old machine and around. And then the chocolate is pretty much like fondue. Like it's very, very thick, dark chocolate that you like dip it in, and all it. So Madrid is great.
Okay, sounds great.
But I'm excited to actually spend time in Madrid, and that's where I'll be staying with people, and so I'll be there for a couple days, and I just learned about the Prado recently. I didn't. I knew of the Prado. I just didn't know where it was. I had like a vague idea, but it was being like, "Oh, it's there. That's very cool." And so I'm excited. I'm imagining I'll have some time. I'll need to like entertain myself, and so I think that's going to be perfect because museums alone totally just makes sense. Because museums with people can be fun too, but I love museums alone because I can just go at whatever pace I want to go at. And it's not a super interactive experience unless you're at like a very like specific type of museum.
Sorry, did I say that out loud?
So I'm really excited to just like have some time to like walk around a very good museum. Like, I think that'll just be like very peaceful as well. And so I'm excited about that. So that's all I know of Madrid so far that I want to do. Valencia, I have never been to.
Okay.
I may be going with the people I'm staying with. They said they might want to use this as like an excuse to go to Valencia because they love it so much.
The people you're staying with in Madrid?
Yes, they might come with me. So that would be fun. And then Barcelona, I have been to before, and I am stoked to go back. I am trying to decide like how much do I revisit the things I really liked versus do things I didn't get to last time. Yeah. San Sebastian, I've been to also very briefly. My family drove from France to Spain, and we drove through San Sebastian, stopped at the beach, and that's all. Yeah, so just briefly stopped there. And then Toral, it's not really any planning because it's going to be at this like conference, and I'm going to be like volunteering at this conference that's going to be there.
And you said that's in Lyon.
Near Lyon. Or maybe a couple hour drive or something like that. And so, but I don't think I'm doing anything else other than like volunteering at a conference there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
and then,
more work like.
Yeah. Just kind of helping out with something. So, just people time there, which will be great. And then when I'm in Madrid, I might do a day trip down to Toledo, which I've been to once before. Okay. And Toledo's great, so it'd be very fun to go back. And even if I saw the same things, it was just, I liked the city a lot. And so so that would be fun. But it was good when I was Skyping with this guy whose family I'm going to be staying with. He asked me some really good questions when he was, like, trying to figure out, like, because he was like, okay, well, what's the purpose of your trip? Like, is it, like, vacation? Is it relaxation? Is it, like, and I was just like, well, it's vacation. Like, I just came off of a busy summer, so that's fun. And I was like, but I want to see a lot. But I always love to connect with people. So I had, like, multiple responses for him.
You want to do everything.
And, yeah, exactly, yeah. Yep. And then he was like, well, do you want to see castles? Do you want to see mountains? Do you want to see the beach? Do you want to see cities? And
you were like, yes.
Yeah. Yes, that's how I responded. But some of the castles he was going to recommend I have seen before. And, but one of the reasons he thought I would like San Sebastian is because it's mountains and beach. And so I'm very excited about that.
Oh, okay. But you said you've been there.
Briefly, yes.
Very briefly, yeah.
I can't even remember what it looks like there other than, like, we, like, stopped out at a beach super quickly.
Okay.
And so,
because that's at the base of the Pyrenees, I believe. That's the mountains.
Oh, okay. Cool. Geography. I should pull up a map, probably.
Yeah, I have pulled up a map. I've also done some research. And the Pyrenees are kind of the border between Spain and France.
Yeah. And it's in Basque country, which I am stoked about because apparently it's some of the best food. And as we've discussed before, I travel to eat. So
right.
I'm pretty excited to eat there. That's going to be really fun. And then I've, like, half considered, do I, like, try to tack on Bilbao? Because that's
also
like
in the Basque country.
Yeah, and not super far away. And there's... Yeah. Did you know there's 2 Guggenheims? Like the museum? You've heard of the Guggenheim, right?
Yes.
So there's
I've
a New
heard
York.
Of it.
There's a New York, the Guggenheim, and there's a Bilbao, the Guggenheim.
Oh, because that he was an artist.
Oh, so he just got, like, multiple places named after him or something. The buildings, I mean, they don't look the same. They both look very, like, modern to me, though.
So Guggenheim museums are a group of museums in different parts of the world established by the Solomon R. Guggenheim Foundation. So that's why.
So are there more than 2?
Let's ask Wikipedia. Oh, yes. There are many. Wow.
Really?
There's New York.
Okay.
Also, so like in New York, and then apparently there's a branch in Manhattan. There's one in Mexico. There's one in Vegas. Apparently.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
There's the one in Spain, in Bilbao. There's one in Venice, Italy.
Really?
Berlin, apparently. Berlin, Germany. I'm going to say this wrong. Vilnius, Lithuania.
Okay.
And Helsinki, Finland. And Abu Dhabi in United Arab Emirates. And those are the ones listed on Wikipedia.
I should go on a Guggenheim tour of the world.
You should. You definitely should.
So when I was in New York, I went to the outside of it because I wanted to see the building, because it is a cool building. I did not go in.
Designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, I think I just read.
Oh, it's a circle-y one, which I mean, we've probably, like, definitely seen movies that take place in it, because I think it's like the spiral ramp thing that, like, goes around in circles over and over. As you're walking through it. Man, so, but Bilbao's, like, enough out of the way, and Dan was saying that, like, he thinks I'm going to enjoy San Sebastian a lot, and so he's like, you're going to want to spend a few days there. So, like, I always have the turmoil of, like, turning down any opportunity of
right.
Like, well, because once you're there, everything's so close, you know, and so then it's like, well, it's not that far.
Yes.
You know,
no, I totally understand. I've fallen victim to that same thing. Just because I know this does matter to you, San Sebastian is on the beach. Bilbao is not.
See, I do like the beach a lot too. So there is that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So far, I think my planning and researching has just been for Barcelona because the Valencia, San Sebastian, and Toral, all three of those are like camps. And
you're visiting camps there.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I don't know what that looks like. I am aware. Well, Valencia, I've done a little bit of looking up because there is the closest thing I could compare it to is almost like the Science Center in Seattle or something like that.
Oh, sure.
Where the buildings look so cool. There's this architect who did a bunch of work in Valencia. You should look it up. It all looks like it belongs in like sci-fi films. Calatrava. Santiago Calatrava.
Oh, those are interesting looking.
Right? It kind of looks like a spaceship that landed.
Well, I'm seeing a number of buildings. Which one?
I mean, all of them just look like they belong in like sci-fi films.
Ooh, that one looks like, what was that? Flight of the Navigator. Did you ever watch Flight of the Navigator as a kid?
No.
Oh, it was like a either 70s or 80s like Disney movie.
Okay.
It's probably very cheesy, but I grew up watching it, and it looks like...
Does it look like a building from it, or what does it look like from it?
It looks like the ship that he flew in.
Oh, okay.
Because like this alien robot comes, and anyway.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. It looks like movie stuff.
These are really cool buildings.
I know. I want to visit them.
And they're all in Valencia?
Mm-hmm.
That's super
A lot of
cool.
them are at the same place. It's at the, I guess it's called the City of Arts and Sciences. And it reminds, I think it's like a big...
City of Arts and Sciences.
I know, right?
Wow.
But it reminds me of like Moody Gardens in Galveston, Texas, where there's like, it looks like there's almost like several buildings of different pieces of this or something like that. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they had an IMAX, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of what it looks like it's similar to. But that just looks really cool. I mean, I just want to see those buildings. And then it would be interesting to see a science museum in Spain as well. I think there's also like an aquarium there, so that would be really fun because it's
it makes sense because it's on the coast. Well, it's on the coast of the Mediterranean.
Oh, Barcelona apparently has a good Mediterranean aquarium, so that would be really fun.
Yes, I think I actually
because when I was in Barcelona last time, I didn't make my way down to the waterfront, and I would like to go there. Because I like waterfronts. So,
yeah. Okay. So, what would you most like help thinking through? And just before you answer that question, sorry, I asked you. And then I'm going to stop you before you even answer. I have not been to Spain. So kind of our intention for this is I got a couple of travel books that I can look at. And of course, we have the entire internet. And just kind of as a way to kind of look at how do we plan and how do we think through the type of travel that we do and what constraints and what do we take into consideration and just kind of have this be... just kind of us do some planning and brainstorming. So that's kind of the intention behind it. But you've been to Spain twice, you said?
3 times.
3 times. This will be your 4th time. I've been to Spain 0 times. So I find it ironic that I'm helping you plan. That's okay.
Well, but also I am a verbal processor. So... and also you like research, so
yes,
I feel like that combination will make you actually helpful.
Great. So
okay, tell me about the books that you've read, and then you also maybe watched a video, did you?
I did. Yeah, I watched several. So this is not the only source for travel, but I'm a big fan of Rick Steves. If you're not familiar with Rick Steves, he's a European travel guy. He actually lives locally here nearby me in a city called Edmonds, which is just kind of north of Seattle, but it's basically in Seattle for people who don't know the area of Western Washington. So he's actually local here, but he's done tons and tons of programs. One of the things that I really appreciate about his kind of travel style is he talks about traveling as a temporary local. So instead of being like a tourist and doing all the touristy things, it's like, no, immerse yourself in the culture and figure out what it's like to be in another culture. Don't just try and take our American culture with us wherever we go, but be willing to like experience new things and try new things. And yes, he'll talk about some of the big things, but he'll also talk about like some of the other things that maybe aren't as well known or whatever. So cool. He's kind of my starting place when I usually will do research. So I got 2 books from the library. I got his Best of Spain book, which is kind of a condensed version. It's got, I don't know, like 450 pages worth of stuff. And then his like full Spain book, which is significantly more detailed, and it's just shy of 1,000 pages. They're like thin. Well, they're thin little pages, but and it's not like you sit down and read the book start to finish. At least I don't. It's much more of a look at the places you want to go, look up the stuff you want, and it's organized by city. And then an area, and usually has like different sections as far as like he'll rate the attractions as like, these are ones you like absolutely have to see. These ones are if you have time, do it. These are ones that, okay, no big deal. He often will have like a sample. So like for Spain, he has a sample itinerary. If you've got 2 weeks, here's his recommendation. Here's where you go. Here's where you stay. Like here's things to see. Cool. And it's just, I like the style that he writes in. Now, I say all of that, and I have to give a caveat. He is a huge art and history buff. So he has a definite bent towards art galleries, art museums, and historically based museums, which, for me personally, not super interested in. So, like, I can do some, and I don't hate art galleries. It just really depends. And I think I get bored of them a lot faster.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know a lot about art. And so they just all look the same to me. Even when I know there's differences, I just don't know enough to know what they are.
Yeah.
And there are times, like when I went to Switzerland, I got his Switzerland book, and he downplayed like the Einstein Museum. Like he rates things like 1, 2, or 3. They're like little triangle things. And he rated it like a 1 triangle. I was like, yeah, okay, you can go. And for me, it's totally like a 3. I loved it. Right. But that's like my thing. And so, and the flip side, like he sometimes rates museums as just really, really good. And I'm like, not my thing. So, and I think that's true of any travel book, right? Is like, you can't just take what someone says and just do it, but using it as a reference to get perspectives. So I've got that. And then he also does a TV program through PBS. And so you can watch all of them for free online. And so he's got a whole bunch of Spain. So I watched, I don't know, 3 or 4. They're about a half hour long.
Cool. Yeah. So what did you learn in all of this?
I learned that I really want to go to Barcelona.
Barcelona is so cool. Oh, my goodness.
And then you and I were talking a little bit about this earlier this week. And now I'm trying to remember. But, like, there's some really cool things in Barcelona, and then there's it's a day trip that's relatively near Barcelona, this place called Montserrat. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it.
So it's like this old like monastery built into the side, of a mountain of like rocks or whatever. But it's like up high, and it has really cool views, and I don't even remember what else. I'll have to look. But that looks
Google
really
Maps
cool.
Is freaking out right now. It's just showing me a map of the world.
Well, I mean, it is there. I mean, it's there,
cool. I'm not going to miss it. So if you, based on, like, you say you really want to go to Barcelona, what would you want to do based on what you've learned about Barcelona?
So it just looks like it's a really, really interesting city. So, like, again, I've never been there. So the La Sagrada Familia, the church by who is it?
Gaudi.
Gaudi, right. And that's still under construction. That just looks super interesting to me.
Yeah, I think I want to go there again, partially because, like, even if it were complete, I think I just want to spend more time there. I just liked it that much. And then also because it is not complete, it will be fun because I went there like 3.5 years ago, and it's been like under construction. So I think that will just be fun to see, like, how's it going? You know?
Yeah. There's a Picasso museum there.
Yes, I want to go there. I think that sounds really cool. I like Picasso.
And then there's, and this is where I like, because in Rick Steves' tour books, he often has pictures of things, which is nice. But then also on his program, he actually shows you video of some of these different places. And so like the Palace of Catalan Music, I don't know that I would have chosen to go, but the architecture looks super cool.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one. Whoa.
Right?
That looks so cool. Okay, where is it? So my strategy when I look up the things I want to do in a city whenever I'm traveling is I found them all on Google Maps, and then I star all of them, and then I just try to group the stars. So into like
Group
days.
The stars.
So like
I see.
I look at the city and I see where are the stars, and then I figure out like, okay, those I can do in the same day, and then these I can do on the same day. So it makes it easy for me. I just like maps are not something I'm naturally good at, but the visuals do help me, and so I think like if I was like looking at like lists of neighborhoods that things are in, that would be really difficult for me. But just looking at like where are the stars, I think can help me a lot. So I just started this one on Google Maps.
And then I think you were telling me you'd been here before. And I apologize to those of you who are listening that actually can speak Spanish because I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. But La Pedrera? Nope, that's not right either. Pedrera. Pedrera.
Okay.
It's Gaudi again, and it's like all of these like buildings that he built. It's like this like little city.
Oh, there's
thing.
like 4 in a row or something like that.
Yeah, it looks. Maybe it's just 4. It looks like more than that, and you can like.
Okay, yeah. So I've walked past that and taken pictures of it, but you can go in some of it, and I would like to go in it because they are museums. So there's La Casa Mila, which is one of them, and it's a museum. And then he has a ton of buildings in the city, and so it's really fun because you can just like see like his work. It looks so unique. And as you go around Barcelona, you can just like see like, oh, yep, there it is, you know, and like it all looks like it like belongs under the sea or something like that, which is very fun. So the Pedrera has a Casa Mila in it, and then there's also just down the street a couple blocks, the Casa I do speak Spanish, but I'm struggling with this word. Batllo, which would be like Batio or something like that. And that also is a museum. And one of them, or maybe both of them, has music at night, which I am super into nighttime music.
Yeah.
So that sounds really fun to get to go. Okay, so I added the Catalan music place because that sounds really good, and it's not that far. A lot of these things are not that far from other things, like, and I'm someone who does a lot of walking in cities, and so I'm sure I'll be walking between a lot of these things, because like that Catalan music thing is not super far from the Picasso Museum or from some of Gaudi's buildings. There's also like another favorite thing I love in Europe is going to markets.
Look at that. I just turned to that page in the thing.
The Mercado de la Boqueria? That one?
Well, a whole bunch of markets. He has a whole section on them. So.
Oh, cool. I think markets are so fun. And I mean, I love food. And then I love, like, what are locals doing, you know? So that's very fun.
Yep.
And then, like I said, I think I want to go to the aquarium in Barcelona because it sounds like it's a good one.
Yeah.
But there's just so many things. There is a mountain that you can see because there's mountains around Barcelona. Okay. And there's this mountain that you can see. And when I was there with my sister, I was like, oh, it'd be fun to actually go up there. And then so this time I was like trying to remember which mountain that was. And then I looked it up and I was like, I don't think I'm going to go, which is kind of funny. It's Mount Tibidabo, which Friends listeners will know because Joey has a fake story that he uses to seduce women about when he was hiking outside of Barcelona in Mount Tibidabo. And then he's like by a lake and he sees a woman bathing and crying. And then you never get further in the story than that. But like that name is like stuck in my head because of Friends. The funny
so now you
thing
have
is,
to go.
Well, on the top of Mount Tibidabo, it's just an amusement park. And it doesn't even look like that fun of an amusement park. And when I'm in Barcelona, I'm just going to be alone. And amusement parks are like probably one of the worst things you could do alone.
Yeah, they actually are kind of creepy alone.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Disneyland alone like a handful of times, and I still love it because it's Disneyland. But this doesn't even seem like a theme park. It seems like just rides.
Like a carnival almost.
Yeah, and like you would have to like travel up there because it's obviously outside of the city. So I'm like, I don't think I'm going to go there, which is just funny that I was like, oh, if I ever come back, I want to go to that mountain. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Now, Montjuic is a very cool area. Did you see anything about that?
Mm-mm.
And, okay, so there's a castle up there, which I would like to see the castle. A lot of people talk about the Olympic Stadium that's there. I don't really care about that, but if you're into
you love sports
if you're into sports, it sounds like it's a very cool thing to get to visit the Olympic Stadium. I mean, there is a little like gondola that goes from the waterfront to it, so that sounds very fun.
Oh, so it's just there in Barcelona?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then my sister and I went to a place. I think I told you about it when I was sharing about my trip, but forgot the name of it, called the Poble Español, and that's what I described as an architecture museum, and that's in that same area. I don't know if I'd go back there or not. I might, though, because when she and I were there, part of it was closed for like a private party, and we were there at dusk, so it might be fun to go back there if I'm like in the neighborhood. But I think if I'm going to go up a mountain in Barcelona, I think I'm going to do Montjuic above Mount Tibidabo.
Okay, sure. I will throw one final thing out there, and this may or may not be of interest to you, but up in Montserrat is where the Salvador Dali Museum is.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm going to have to check out if I want to visit Montserrat then.
Because I'm like I said, I'm not a big art aficionado by any stretch of the imagination, but I do really like Dali. So, and I'm sure that some of his stuff will be in other places too. But that's like the museum that he designed.
Oh, it is gorgeous there, though. Oh, wow.
Montserrat, right?
Oh, it's very pretty.
Yeah.
So it looks like if I did public transportation, it would take me an hour and 45 minutes.
That's not terrible.
If I drove, it's a hour drive. So the difference between that and public transportation is not terrible, no.
And are you just using Google Maps to come up with those times?
Yeah. I love using, even in Europe, I found that Google Maps, I love it because it will tell me like what train to take, or like even like it knows like the public transportation system in different cities. So something that my sister and I did when we were in Europe is we didn't do any kind of data while we were there, but at nighttime in our hotel, we'd use the Wi-Fi to look up either walking directions or like public transit directions to places. Yeah. And then she would draw it on the map that we had. And then she'd also like make a note of like, we need to take this train to this location or things like that. So, Google is doing a good job even internationally.
You can also download maps to use offline.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Oh, you didn't know? Oh, my gosh.
No.
Yeah. So if and that's true, obviously, anywhere, but you can go in and download you set like the area, and depending on how big the area is, how dense it is, will depend on how much space it takes up on your phone. But you can download that like on Wi-Fi at the hotel, or you could do it before you leave the States or whatever. And then you can do Google searches and get directions and all of that stuff through your phone without having to be connected.
That's cool.
Because, of course,
that sounds really good.
You can still use GPS without having to be connected to the data. So
cool. That's very cool. Yeah. Because I'm not someone who like wants to pay for any kind of extra data when I'm traveling internationally. Yeah. And then also I think that I found like it just uses this part of my brain that I don't normally use when I'm traveling internationally. Mm-hmm. And I love it, and I think it's good for me. And maybe that's one of the many reasons that I love to travel is like figuring out a city and then being like, I have to actually figure this out. I can't have my phone figure it out for me. Whether it's like trying to figure out what a sign says or how to get somewhere or anything like that, I think is like such a good skill to keep having to use. And in fact, it was funny because then when I was in New York and Boston a year ago, I felt like I was cheating because it felt in a lot of ways very similar to going to Europe. Like a lot of places in Europe I've been to are big cities with good public transportation. And so, especially like Boston feels a lot like Europe. And so,
okay.
And yet I could use my phone. And so I like texted my sister at one point and I was like, I feel like I'm cheating right now because this is so easy. Everyone speaks English and I can use my phone to look up directions to places, and yet it's as cool as Europe. And so, that was pretty funny. The Dali Museum, huh? Do I want to go to Montserrat then?
I mean, that I can't help you with. I can't make a decision for you.
Oh, well, okay, fine.
But I can tell you it would definitely be high on my list because Montserrat looks really cool, and the Dali Museum. Because one of the tips that is in Rick Steves' book here is bring a couple of like €1 coins because a lot of Dali's art is movable and coin operated.
What?
Yeah, doesn't that sound cool?
Whoa, that sounds very cool.
This one is, it's called, where'd it go? The Dali Theater Museum. Teatre Museo Dali.
Okay.
Museu, I guess, not museo. Sorry.
Yeah, it's weird because Catalan throws everything off, too.
Right.
We are in Catalonia, so 2 languages.
Right.
Yeah. Fun. Okay, that's good to know. So how long am I in Barcelona for? I'm probably
not long enough.
I think I'm gonna have 3 non-travel days in Barcelona.
Okay.
Because this would be like a day trip, so it would really give me then 2 Barcelona days if I went to Montserrat, which is still good, but like.
Especially since you've been to Barcelona before.
Yeah.
So it's not. So you don't have to necessarily see all of the things because you're returning.
Yes. Oh, this is the one with the eggs on top of it? I've seen photos of this building. I thought that was like in Russia or something. The museum, the Dali Museum, it looks like it has like eggs on top of it. Am I looking at the right place right now? Yeah, I am. 87 miles from Barcelona. Okay.
Montserrat?
Yeah, or the Dali Museum. Is it really there? Are you sure?
Are you asking me or are you asking the computer right now?
I'm asking you.
Is it really where I say it is? I say
sure?
It's in Montserrat. Yeah. But then you said, no, the Dali Museum. So I'm confused.
Oh. It's a different city. It's Figueres. Oh, no, it's like north of Girona. It's almost in France.
So they just put it in that section of the book, but it's not actually
It could be
there.
Another day trip from Barcelona. And I mean, Girona also looked cool, so like if I went there, but it's even past Girona. Did Rick Steves lie?
I just might not be reading it carefully.
It's an hour and 36-minute drive
from
Barcelona. That's Barcelona. 2 hours on the train. So I mean, it's a day trip. Like, could be worth it if they're was enough in that area to do. It's kind of a bummer that it's not in Montserrat, though.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. Because, yeah, that monastery, like, abbey area looks pretty cool.
I read that as figures and just kept going. I didn't realize that was a demarcation
figures.
of a new city. That's my fault. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so those are good thoughts on Barcelona. I think I'll have plenty to do there, so I'm pretty excited. I just have to figure out where I'm staying, and then I'm good to go. And so that part is a bit like, I don't feel overwhelmed by that, but it just feels to me like a random choice as far as choosing like where to stay. Off air, you mentioned Airbnb, which I've never done before, so I want to hear about it.
Yeah, so I've done Airbnb. Actually, the first time I did Airbnb was actually international. It wasn't domestic. And that's what I did when I was in Switzerland, is I stayed in Airbnbs. And it worked really well for me. It's cheaper than a hotel. You go onto their website and you look at areas and it'll tell you where they are, and they'll have pictures, and they'll tell you which things they'll allow, which things they won't allow. And you can message with the host and you can ask them questions. There's certain ones that you can like book right away. There's other ones where you like put in the request and then they have to approve it. And like say, yes, that works, or no, that doesn't. And sometimes, like a lot of things that are kind of crowdsourced like that, sometimes it's like, oh, actually we're not, renting out our room for the entire month of September, but they didn't actually put it on there or whatever. So
yeah.
So you deal with that a little bit. For me, when I was traveling, I ended up just 2 of the 3 cities that I stayed in, I just rented a room in somebody's place as opposed to an entire place.
Okay, and how'd that go?
It was fine.
Yeah.
I'm, not super social. And I didn't have to like interact a ton with people that I didn't know, but you definitely could if you want. I mean, I definitely had some interactions. And for me, someone was like, I don't know how much I should interact with them.
It's almost like taking an Uber or something like that.
Kind of like that. But it was also a whole lot, again, cheaper because I'm not renting an entire place. I'm just renting a room in their house.
Yeah.
Or in their flat or whatever. And so, it worked really well for me.
If you're just like renting a place on your own, is there like a lockbox with the key, or does somebody greet you? Or
it really depends.
How does that go down? Okay.
Yeah, so I've run into lockboxes a lot here in the States. I think because for a lot of people, they tend to be like rental properties. Like they own this place and they rent it out like all the time. In my very limited experience in one country of Europe for 1 week.
So you're a master on this. Got it.
Definitely a master. I met each person as opposed to like, although the first place, I think maybe he did have a lockbox, but where was he from? He was actually not even from Switzerland. He was from somewhere else. But the other places, even the one, so I had 2 where I stayed in the room of a place that somebody else lived. And then the third one was just super, super small. So it was just me. It was like kind of like a studio apartment kind of. It was all just one room. And so that one I wasn't actually sharing a place. But even then, like the person met me and you like arrange the time and you can, this is where having data is helpful internationally. If you're in like a train station, I think chances are good that they're going to have Wi-Fi. You could always check ahead of time on the web to be like, hey, I'm leaving here, whatever. I should be there in X amount of time. I'm wearing this or whatever. And I won't have cell service when I get there or something. So you can communicate that ahead of time with them.
Yeah, that is tricky. I guess I could pick a time that's late enough in the day that I would feel like, oh, I'll definitely be there by then. Because I don't know if I'm going to be getting my train tickets before I get to the country, or if I'm going to do that when I'm there. So I don't know what time of day I'm going to be arriving in these cities.
I'm trying to remember how I did that because I didn't get my train tickets until I went to Switzerland, because it's often cheaper to buy them in the country than to try and buy them ahead of time.
And I mean, either way, the good thing is they're not terribly expensive, which is great. And so it is funny though. Okay, so I think there's like this idea. I don't know if you've ran into this where probably people who have not traveled to Europe very much think that like the pass is the cheapest way to go. Like I've heard, just in conversation, I've heard people say that. Like, oh, you just get a pass and it's like really inexpensive. And the funny thing is, like, it not depends. The cheapest way to go.
Well, it depends. It depends on where you're going, how often you're going, and how long your overall time is.
But for like a typical trip, even me, who like I jump around a lot, and I guess part of this is that I'm also a planner, so I was able to commit to train tickets. So I guess if you're going to Europe and you're like backpacking through Europe and you don't know, like, who knows what countries I'm going to, and you just want to like have a pass just to be able to hop around, it might be cheaper. And yet still, like, I've found as I've looked at train tickets, like, it's a lot more expensive than anything I've looked at. And so, but I think that also is maybe someone who, like, hasn't really looked up what are the actual, like, prices of those passes. Because those passes are not cheap. They're just not super expensive. But some of the train tickets can be, like, pretty inexpensive, you know? And so, anyway, I just found that to be kind of funny to me that, like, just in conversation, I've noticed that that's like an idea in people's minds. So
that's one of the things I really like about, I'm going to go back to the Rick Steves book. I'm going to hold this up to the camera to see if you can see this. So he does travel maps that have, here's the...
Nice.
So I think that one is the travel times. And then he also has the whole thing at the bottom of like, here are the different passes and how much they cost for what things, so that you can easily look and kind of do that price comparison like you're saying.
Nice.
So he's got lots of useful information around this, and like, when is it the best to buy? Is it best to buy in the States ahead of time? Is it best to buy when you're there? Like, all of those sorts of things. So... I
am in general. I am a person who likes to have my tickets good to go.
Yep,
and likes to know, like, I have a spot on this train that's going to the place I want to go to at a time of day that I want to be going there. So, like, I like that, and yet also I'm very aware of, like, there's a lot of spots on trains, you know, and like there's also a lot of trains going, you know, even when you look at like the timetables, it's like, oh, there's a ton, you know, and so I think I just view train travel a lot like plane travel sometimes, when I think like they are actually pretty different.
It is pretty different.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I haven't been to Spain to do their trains, but I've done trains in several other European countries, and I would say they're much more similar to bus travel than they are to plane travel.
Yeah. And I love them. I love being on a train. Oh man.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
It's nice.
So I'm excited to get to do that a couple times. That's going to be really fun.
Cool.
So did you learn anything about these other cities that I am going to?
So like Madrid, for example?
A
little bit.
Capital?
Yeah. This is going to sound terrible, but like, I wasn't super impressed with Madrid. There wasn't a lot that I thought sounded really cool.
I haven't seen much like personality to it, so I'm excited to actually like be in the city for a bit and get to see it, because like I haven't been able to figure out like what is this like deal with Madrid, you know, so...
Yeah. And I know you've seen flamenco dancing before, yes?
Yes, but I mean, I would happily see it again.
Because that's something that is in Madrid.
Oh, that's cool.
Quite a bit.
I love
one
flamenco.
thing that, for me, again, more the kind of sciencey person, they have the Royal Botanical Gardens.
Ooh,
which
well, that's
I would
cool.
really enjoy. Because, you know, it's kind of like an art museum, except it's plants. And again, you can spend as much or as little time as you want there. There's lots of walks. One of the other things that Rick Steves does is he has like self-guided walking tours, which
that's
I've done
cool.
several. So like you can kind of like go on these walks, and then it'll tell you a little bit about where you're going.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
that you at least have some idea what you're looking at if you're anything like me and don't know a lot of that. He also does have an app, a free app, and a few of his tours you can actually download for free.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check
He has
that
a Barcelona city walk and a Madrid city walk.
Nice. Ooh,
And
maybe
so
I should do those.
You could do that. The other thing that is sometimes useful is if you find where the tourist information office is, and like in Madrid, there's probably more than one. Sometimes they will have like audio tours, and you can like buy, and they'll sell you like a little thing with headphones, and you can actually like buy that, and it'll be that same sort of like walking tour.
That's cool. I don't think I've ever gone to a tourist information office before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually like I don't like to think of myself as a tourist. But I went when I was in Switzerland, super helpful. Because like that's why they're there, right? Is to like recommend things or whatever. And so you can ask the people there all sorts of questions about like, hey, what would you recommend for like buying my train tickets, or or when is a good time to do this, or even just like what's the best kind of walk or whatever. It's kind
That's
of
cool.
like So that can be a helpful place to stop.
Yeah.
Even if you just pop in, look around, and say no, thank you,
hey, what's up,
and leave. Yeah. And they often have maps. They'll have like free maps.
Oh, cool.
So
Nice.
if you don't have it on your phone,
Nice. So it looks like that botanical garden is right next to the Prado.
oh, perfect.
Also, it's next to a much larger park. That's a pretty big park. Okay. When I went to Central Park in New York, I was like, I love parks.
Yeah.
It was just this weird, like, I really like parks a lot. And it was, I knew I had to go to Central Park, and I was like, I love this a lot. And it's funny because I like hiking. So, like, it feels weird that I like parks because in some ways that feels like some, like, silly version of hiking. But I also love cities. So, like, yeah. Okay, this park, this is big. There's even a public library in this park. This looks like a map of Central Park. Whatever
that's
this.
cool.
Oh, there's 2 botanical gardens in this area. I gotta check out this park.
Yeah, definitely. So another thing, the Royal Palace, and it's going to be up to you whether this is your type of thing or not. Rick Steve says that this is Europe's 3rd greatest palace after Versailles in France.
I've been there.
And Vienna's Schönbrunn, and I'm probably saying that wrong. I've actually been to both of those.
I've not been to Vienna.
Yeah. And, they are beautiful. And so it's very, very similar in style to, like, Versailles. So if you wanted to see another palace like that, there's one. If you're like, yeah, I've seen Versailles, I'm good.
I think I enjoy a palace, I'll take a palace sometimes.
I didn't like Versailles, but I think part of it's because it was so crowded.
Okay.
It was so crowded.
I don't think it was crowded when I was there. I was there in the summer, though, which is funny. I don't remember that many people, though. I should probably share, though, about my plane ticket, because it's pretty cool.
Oh,
did I tell you about my plane ticket?
No, you did not.
Okay, so several years ago when my sister and I were planning this trip to Europe, she was like, hey, I have this friend who is a travel agent with AAA. We should go talk to her. And I was like, sure. But I was thinking, like, travel agents. Okay, first of all, did not know they still existed. Also, I was like, yeah, right. She probably can't save us any money, so whatever. Like, I just had zero faith that we're actually going to get anything out of it. But I was like, sure, like, she might know some stuff, so we could go talk to her. That's fine. And so I did a lot of research before we met with her to figure out, like, what planes did I want us to get? Like, how much would that cost? All that stuff. And then we went to her, and she got us the exact same flights that I wanted. plus 3 nights in Rome at a nice hotel for $100 cheaper than just the flights that I could find.
Really?
Yeah. So pretty much we got a free 3 nights at a nice hotel in Rome and $100 off our plane ticket. And I was like, what is the deal? It was so exciting. Also, it was like really fun to talk with her about the trip and like get thoughts and everything. And she kind of told us like she loves TripAdvisor a lot. So she was even saying that she likes to view like reviews on TripAdvisor when she's looking at hotels, you know. And so we were talking about some different things. But also I was like, she's saving us money, so I'm stoked.
Yeah.
And so I emailed her before this trip and I was like, hey, this is what I'm looking at. Can you get me anything? And she
are you
got
a AAA
me,
member?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now
you have to be a AAA member to
the funny thing is she definitely did not ask to confirm that, although it makes me wonder if she looked me up. So yeah, I emailed her and I was like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. Can you get me anything? And I had mentioned that I was staying with people in Madrid, and she was like, so even though you're staying with people, part of this like deal that I can get you includes a hotel in Madrid. She's like, you don't even have to use it. But she's like, if I get you like the crappiest hotel, you can get a round ticket for $7.90.
Wow.
So, yeah. When like, if you just look at like some of the other, if you just look at like the airline sites, it was going to be like $1,300 or something like that.
Wow.
And then, yeah, like a big jump in price difference. And then, okay, I was able to find a little over $800 from some of the like deal sites. Yeah. And then also I started like reading reviews on like the third party whose site. It was like on a deal site that was through another site. And then I was like reading reviews on those sites. And it was like, don't trust these people. And I was like, I want an $800 ticket, but I also want to be able to go.
Yeah, no, I've not had great experiences with the other sites. I pretty much always buy direct from the airline itself.
Yeah. And so that was something where I was like, should I trust this? And not feeling great about it, but also like wanting to save money. And so she got me even a cheaper ticket with only one stop each way. That's
great. Where do you have to stop?
I think Paris one way and Amsterdam the other way.
And okay, but you don't have to stop in the U.S.
No, I don't think
you
so.
Get a direct
I think
to
in
Europe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. And if I wanted to stay in this hotel, and then she was like, oh, I could have gotten you this nicer hotel for just like this much more, and it wasn't even that much more. And then I was like, get me the crappiest hotel you can get me because I'm not going to use it. So like whatever gets me like the cheapest total cost. So I guess sometimes AAA has this thing where they'll get you 3 nights at a hotel and a round trip. And I think it has to be the same city. You know, otherwise I would have been like, can I get the hotel in Barcelona? But it has to be, I think, the city that you're flying in and out of for whatever specific
that makes sense
deal that she's getting.
Yeah.
And I am so stoked because like I don't think I've ever flown for that cheap to Europe before, or not more than once. And so yeah. I mean anything under 1,000 and I feel great about.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So yeah, so that was very exciting. Yeah. So talk to your local AAA travel agent because they still exist.
Apparently.
And I don't know if it's a better deal than the internet, but it feels like a more reliable deal. So that's exciting. So yep.
Okay, one final Madrid thought for you.
Okay.
As I was looking through, there's another art museum called Centro de Arte Reina Sofia.
Okay.
It's a nice long name. And there's a really
Sofia?
Centro de Arte Reina, Reina, Sofia. And the thing about this one is it has Picasso's Guernica.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. I'm impressed that you actually knew that. I had never heard of it until this.
Oh.
Yep. So
that's
it's there.
Cool.
So if you're
Guernica's
in Madrid anyway, And if that is meaningful for you, then that would be something to make sure you go see.
Guernica is impactful. I would love to see it in person. Yeah. Guernica is, I learned in an art class in college, some like hotel did their whole style around it and had like a copy of it in every room, and then afterwards realized like the historical significance of that painting, and they were like, oh shoot, and then they went in a different direction. So
yeah,
turns out it matters.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh, I should go there then. Okay, it looks like that's also like not too far from some other things.
Yeah, it looks like
that's
there's
also
like
really
a
near that
museum
botanical garden
district.
Ooh.
Like. So there's a whole bunch of museums.
I just need to go to the museum district. See, that
close
might be
to
something
each
where I
other.
wonder if I could find a pass. Because I don't normally get passes, like city passes or things like that, because they don't end up normally having enough things that I would actually save money.
Right.
But I could then museum hop if I could find something
that's
with
possible.
like multiple. Because sometimes, like you're saying, like there are times when I like to spend some time in a museum, and there's other times when I like to be there for like an hour. And then it feels like, well, then was admission really worth it? And then, I mean, I will need to, like, go to... There's a plaza that apparently I'm supposed to go to. So in Italy, it's all the piazza?
Sure, one of those.
The little plazas. And then in Spain, it's the plaza.
Right.
And that's a big, like, cultural thing, is going to, like, a little plaza area.
Mm-hmm.
So there is one that they mentioned that I will need to find and go to.
Okay. So here's what it says about a pass in Madrid.
Okay.
Very energetic travelers can save a little money and some valuable sightseeing time by buying the Madrid card. It covers or offers discounts at more than 50 sites, including the Royal Palace, the Prado, the Thyssen Bornemisza, the Reina Sofia, and Bernabeu Stadium Tour. And lets you skip lines at several sites, a definite plus in high season, especially at the Palace and the Prado. Note that the pass advertises it includes, in quotes, some sites that are free anyway. It also includes
That's convenient.
English guidebook and map. The 3-day card is the best bargain at €67. Other options include €47 24 hours and €60 48 hours and €77 120 hours. Madridcard.com. So
cool.
It would just depend on what the costs of all those other things are.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Although also line skipping can be really helpful sometimes.
Yes. But also a lot of these places you can pre-buy tickets. And so if you pre-buy them, you can skip a lot of the lines.
Yeah.
So
I guess if I know I'm going to go to some of these, I'll just have to see what the cost is and everything. Something I learned when I was at the Met in New York is that instead of purchasing a ticket, you can go up to the donation booth and give any size donation, and they will give you admission.
Oh.
So you can just say, I would like to make a donation, and they will let you make a $1 donation and let you go in. So I think I ended up doing like half the cost of admission or something like that. But yeah, so that's a fun little hack if you're at the Met in New York. Although it makes me wonder how many other museums are the same. So that was really interesting. Yeah, the people I'm staying with, he mentioned a day of the week that the Prado is free. And I think I don't want to go on. Or maybe a month. What day of the month or something like that?
Like the first Tuesday of the month or something like that.
Yeah. I kind of don't want to go then because it's just going to be so much more crowded. And there's times when I would kind of rather just pay admission and be a little less crowded, you know. So there's a maritime museum. I have like almost zero entrance in that, but you know, here we go.
So how are you feeling?
Fun. I'm feeling good. I think this is just reminding me, like, one of the strategies that I do, like I said, of, like, making stars on Google, is I even just look up, like, I'll either look up lists of, like, top things to do in a place and figure out, like, do I want to do those things? Or I'll just look up a list of cool buildings in a place because I do like to go look at some buildings. So like for Barcelona, I just looked up a list of all of Gaudi's buildings because I saw some of them the last time I was there, but I'd love to see more of his work. And then I just need to email these people I'm staying with and be like, what's going down, to figure out like, do I need a hotel in San Sebastian or Valencia? Although maybe an Airbnb. I think I will try that because that sounds really fun. I think I'd feel more comfortable just renting out a whole place as opposed to a room on my own, you know?
And that's what I would prefer to do. I just wasn't in my budget.
Oh, for sure.
Switzerland is really expensive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard that about Switzerland recently, too.
Really expensive.
So, and I think if I were traveling with someone else, I might feel differently about that. But I think traveling alone, like I've just been trying to figure out, like, what are smart decisions I should be making while I'm traveling alone. Although I like the idea of a fridge anywhere I'm staying because I love to just, like, do some, like, well, I guess in Europe it'd just be going to a market and getting some things, you know, or things like that. I love eating out, but I don't feel like I need to eat all of my meals out. And so, although the good thing I've found at European hotels is their continental breakfast is so much better than American continental breakfast.
Well, it's not really a continental breakfast.
Okay, their breakfast. It's breakfast.
It's just a European breakfast.
Yeah,
Lots
and I
of,
love
like,
breakfast.
meats and cheeses and bread and
I'm so into that. So I think that is the actual like cost value of that is not very high, but that is a fun thing about staying at a hotel is you're like, get that breakfast. So
it's true.
Oh, the Plaza Mayor. That's right. That's the
one of the other things Rick Steves has is he does have like places to stay. And he'll often do like B&Bs or whatever the local equivalent would be. So that kind of is almost, especially in Europe, it's kind of like a hybrid of like the Airbnb or like a hotel because you can have your own room, but there's usually like a family that runs it or whatever. And so you still get to interact a little bit. So that could also be an option. When you're looking for a place to stay, if you're like, I don't really want to do Airbnb.
I love a B&B. Yeah. Does he have suggestions for cities in particular or just ideas of types of places?
Nope. He has each city he actually recommends specific places. So like Barcelona.
Oh my gosh. Imagine how much pressure as a business owner if you had Rick Steves staying at your place.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't used to be as big as he is now.
That's fair. They probably didn't know who he was.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of them, like, he's been going back to the same place, like, for years. So, let's see. Sleeping in Barcelona. Choosing the right neighborhood in Barcelona is as important as choosing the right hotel.
Ooh. There are some distinct neighborhoods there.
Yep, all these different things. Book your accommodations well in advance.
Or not.
So he has a whole bunch of different places listed. Some of them are hotels. A lot of these end up looking like hotels. And then they're like $3 signs, $2 signs, or $1 sign. You know, it's just kind of the more or less place. And he also has
it's only $3. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and he like has a map. That not that you can really see that, but like, and it shows you here's where the different places are, so you can gauge like, are they in a good location for what you want? These are all. Ooh, the BCN Fashion House B&B.
Fashion.
It's a meditative place with 10 basic rooms, a peaceful lounge, and a leafy backyard terrace.
Ooh.
There's a shared bath. There are cheaper rooms with a shared bath. Some rooms with a veranda. 2-night minimum stay. Includes breakfast.
My sister and I stayed in a hotel that we liked called the Hotel Curious in Barcelona last time, but they don't have availabilities when I'm looking. So I will not be going back there. I did like it a lot, though. It felt like being in IKEA in a good way. So that was fun.
Oh, and you'll love this. He has a whole thing just on food.
Ooh. Man,
and not just like here's places to eat, but also like recommendations and I think he had a thing. I think I saw a thing in here about tapas and like talking about that.
Tapas.
Yeah.
I love tapas. So fun. I'm so excited. Well, after I go, we will do an episode on this trip.
Yes.
And
excellent.
We'll find out what I end up doing.
And what wonderful adventures you end up having.
I know. I'm so excited. This is like way less prepared than I normally am with this much time out from a trip.
Yeah.
But I'm also like stoked about it. So it's going to be really good. Yeah.
It will be good. You will have a wonderful time.
Yeah. I also need to remember rest. I have to figure out like.
But see, that's where something like, I think, like walking through a garden or something can be one of those where you can still feel like you're accomplishing something, but it can be restful. Mm-hmm. As long as you're not like, running to get there or something.
Running through a garden.
Yeah. Or even just
walking through a garden. Yeah. I think that's really true is I do tend to pack my days when I'm traveling. Yep. And so I just need to remember like it's also okay to not, and like I like the concept of living like a local a lot, and I don't think I really do that much when I travel because I'm like trying to see everything.
Yeah.
And so I think the idea of like trying to like I don't just want to stay in my hotel, I don't want to stay in, but like how to be out and about and get rest at the same time. And I think it's just doing less sometimes. Yeah. So,
or like going to the beach. Mm-hmm. Right? Like that's going and hanging out on the beach. No, you're out. You're not just sitting in your hotel, but you're not running and walking and figuring out and you're just kind of enjoying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's, things like that.
That's really true. Yeah. So it's going to be good. I'm excited.
Yeah. So, good luck on the rest of your planning.
Thank you.
Next up would be our Wish You Were Here segment.
Yeah.
And we actually got to wish we were there together.
That makes so much sense grammatically.
So much sense. So much sense.
Yeah.
So you called me up and was like, hey, you want to go hiking?
And you were like, maybe?
Yep, I was not super confident of it. Do you want to explain a little bit about where we went?
Yeah. So the reason I thought of suggesting this hike to you was after we recorded our first episode and you talked about your trip to Switzerland and you talked about a hike that involved a gondola or a train?
Both, actually.
Okay. A gondola and a train.
Yep.
And so it involved like some transportation and some hiking and beautiful mountains.
Yes.
And you're not much of a hiker, but I was like, there's this hike that is very cool. And I was like, I think you would enjoy it. And so I suggested it, and your stipulations were if it wasn't too hot that day, because it was definitely August when we did this. And I'm trying to think of your other stipulation. Well, one of mine was I was like, you and I both had flexible enough schedules that I was like, we shouldn't do a weekend because of crowds.
Yep.
Which was I've done a lot of, I've done a lot of Seattle area hiking to learn like I like hiking when you don't feel like you're in a line of people, when you actually like kind of be alone out. And so, and part of this hike includes a restaurant. And so I was like, well, that's going to matter because of that as well.
Yep.
So we hiked up Crystal Mountain, which is in central Washington, kind of near Mount Rainier, 12 miles from Mount Rainier, as we learned.
Is it 12 or 14?
One of the two.
Yep, somewhere in there. Less than 15 miles.
And so there's a gondola that goes to the top of the mountain that you can go up or down or both.
Yep.
And the website is very confusing because it says that download only tickets are $10 or whatever it says, which makes it sound like you can only download the tickets from their website. It's very strange.
But download actually means
going down the gondola and not up.
Yeah, so not a round trip ticket.
Yes, so only down.
Yep. So we ended
up... I
up...
guess I'm supposed to upload only tickets.
Yeah. So we ended up hiking up, and it was... what did it say it was, like 4.8 miles or something, but we think it might be longer than that.
Yeah.
And it took us about 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And we hiked all the way up. The beginning of the hike was awful because it was super steep, like right away. And
I was like feeling really guilty because I was like, I hope it's not still like this because I suggested this to a non-hiker.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And then the end of the hike was kind of brutal also because
However,
it was
we
also...
got to see Mount Rainier during the end of the hike.
Yes, we did. So that definitely helped. And then we knew we were hiking to a restaurant and we got to eat food.
Yes.
And
but it was hot. That was the hottest point in the day.
And we were high enough that there weren't trees around us anymore. So like all of those things, and we were like higher in elevation, so the air was thinner.
And ready for lunch, yeah.
All of the things kind of all came together. But the view was spectacular, and that restaurant is, I mean, you sit there and you can stare at Mount Rainier.
Yeah.
And
it's so
it's
cool.
just like
it's just
right there.
right in front of your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's kind of comically large where it is, I would say. You're like, that's very big.
Yeah. We may have stopped at one point and discussed whether or not we would be dead if it erupted. That may have been a conversation we had.
Which was funny because I think you were like a little hesitant. You were like, I hope this doesn't freak you out. But I knew that you would think something like that as a science person.
Yep.
And then those thoughts don't scare me. So for me, it was just like an interesting conversation. And I was like, oh yeah, some people would be like freaked out if you're like, would we die if it erupted right now? And then hearing some dude next to us being like, it hasn't erupted for this many years. And be like, oh, so it is due.
Yeah. So anyway, it was great. And then we took the gondola down, which was great because I was done hiking at that point.
And then you're just done, so yeah. All the work is at the start, and then you eat, and then you just sit in a gondola.
Yeah.
And then you just drive home. So yeah. And then here's a little insider scoop hack that we learned was there's a gift shop on the top of the mountain, and that's where you buy your download only ticket, which they really need to change that term. And there was a little sign on the front of it that said they were closed for 30 minutes, and you pointed out when did those 30 minutes start?
Yeah, it wasn't one of the ones that has a clock that's like, we'll be back in. It just said, sorry, we'll be back in 30 minutes. I was like, well, did you just put that up like 2 minutes ago, or has it been up for like 25 minutes?
Yeah.
Because telling me that you're gone for 30 minutes doesn't help me.
Yeah. I think those are only helpful if it's under 5 minutes, because then you're like, I'm fine waiting for 5 or less minutes.
Yeah.
But so we were kind of like, oh my gosh, do we have to wait around for 30 minutes to buy this ticket to get on the gondola with like a pretty short line?
Yeah.
What's the deal? So we went up. There was some guy too who was like, just go on, and trying to be all like, get us to be. He was like,
they won't check your ticket. You can just go on. And I was like, well, that may be true, but I feel like that's dishonest.
Yeah. So we asked, and they were like, oh, you're good. Don't worry about it. Just go on the gondola. So we got a free gondola ride.
Yep.
So here's the trick is you tell them.
Wait a minute. You're telling them to lie?
No. It was just funny, though, because there was like a bit of an honor system involved and just being like, hey, they have a sign that says they were closed. And he was just like, that's cool. So that was very nice of him to not make us wait on top of for the store to open. Or it was like, can we just give him money? But we don't have cash. And so, that probably wouldn't work that way.
Probably not.
And great gondola ride. Also, the whole thing is dog friendly. So that's why I discovered it last year and went on it in the first place, was because it was like, I mean, most hikes are dog friendly unless you're in national park. But this was like the restaurant, the patio area is dog friendly, and the gondola is dog friendly. So like the whole experience which is great.
And they have multiple trails. It's not just like one hike. So like, because the one that we did is different than the one that you did the last time you went.
Yeah.
Right? And so they have multiple different ways that you can hike and get to the top paths, and things like that.
And then we ran into people who took the gondola up and then hiked back down, and that would also be an option. Or people that just took the gondola up and down and ate at the restaurant and hung out, and that's cool too. Yeah. I also thought, I thought I had read that they were only open in the summer, but apparently they're open year round. So that would be, other than the drive in the snow, which would not be my favorite.
No.
That'd be a fun place to visit in the winter, to get to like go to the top of a mountain when it does not involve skiing. So, yeah.
So, yeah, that's our recommendation. It was a lot of fun. Whether you like hiking or not, you still have access to the restaurant. The restaurant wasn't cheap, but it wasn't like outlandishly expensive.
Yeah.
And the food was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good food.
And they have an outdoor patio area. So since we had nice weather, we really sat outside, got to see the
with
mountain.
The mountain just right there.
Yeah.
So wish you were here at Crystal Mountain. Yep.
Yep.
Sweet.
All right. I think that's what we got for this round. So, just want to remind you of all the different ways that you can connect with us on the Take Me With You podcast. So, on social media, we're at Timwy Podcast, TMWY Podcast.
Yepers. You can also email us at timwepodcast@gmail.com. Send us questions or thoughts or suggested guests or places we should go to. We're always looking for where we should be traveling to. So
yeah. You can also give us a call on our fancy phone number, which is area code 406 Pod Timwy, PODTMWY, or if you want that in like the actual numbers, that's 406-763-8699, and you can call us and leave a voicemail. You can text us a message. You can, contact us however you want to with that. You also, if you feel so inclined, can rate and review us on iTunes or whatever particular rate and review service you have access to, and give us some feedback on what you think about our podcast and our travel stuff we get to talk about.
Yeah. Thank you so much to Beth Morrell for our awesome artwork. You can check her out at Beth Is Something.
She
or
is
as
something.
I used to think it was Be This Something.
Oh, bummer.
It is either. So she's a wonderful artist.
Absolutely.
And you
Thanks,
should
Beth.
check her out.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for this episode. So until next time, please remember to take me with you.
Take me with you.